Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. I'm going to do a video on technology. A video on technology from a Christian perspective, how it is used greatly in end time events. Wow, what a topic. So, here's a few things here, and of course there's more to discuss that's not going to be included, but I'm going to include the biggest ideas I can think of here for the most part. So, um, overall, it's important to just know though that technology is playing a crucial and critical role in keeping us all connected in some way or another. And also, it is used to as an enhancement to our lives. Okay, whether if it's having to do with our cars, whether if it's having to do with our um, gadgets, computers, microchips. You can use it for medical reasons, etc. So let's talk about this. Cell phones. Our cell phones can be used and has been, and this might be debatable for some people. However, I am going to agree with Mr. Snowden, Edward Snowden, you might recall. He had told us, warned us, that as he was working for the government, that the government was actually tracking us. They were spying on their civilians. So cell phones are used for tracking and monitoring. We can track a person's location. And I personally worked with someone who said that she was being spied on by her boyfriend. She had spyware in her phone that he had downloaded so that he could track her every move basically and know what she's up to. And anyways, and it was creepy, of course. And anyhow, just a little short story there. And it was a spy camera, apparently, is what she said. So I'm not a huge tech person and I don't know all the things, but I do know that cell phones have been used to track and monitor. And have you heard of our conversations being tapped into our phone calls? Well, I've definitely experienced other people's hearing voices in the background while on the cell phone with other people, with loved ones or friends. Now, I haven't had experience with that personally in quite a while. Um, a cell phone, where it was just evident someone was tapping into my cell phone calls. But it has happened. AI, so artificial intelligence. All right, so as you all know, there is this idea of AI being dangerous, and and that there's just kind of this idea of like, man, we should be afraid. It's dangerous. Like there's some fear involved in that. Um, it because it causes employment loss and basically this idea of replacement of humans, right? Um, doing the work for us, replacing our occupations, and leaving, of course, people out of work, and which might mean out of money, which might mean all kinds of things. Okay, if we don't have money, it certainly does make it harder for us to live, to pay the bills, and God forbid if something happens with our health, you know. And so here's this idea of being afraid of AI and the replacement of humans with AI, with robots, basically. And it's held in high regard. Actually, it's so even though there's the idea of that to it, there's also this high esteem that is out there as well of AI, and just how people are holding it in such high regard. And well, you know what I mean. For instance, just seeing videos about people, some YouTubers are putting this out there, like, wow, look at this. I just hired a robot cleaner, blah, blah, blah. There's, different AI tools out there, and all kinds of examples, whether if it's helping us out, creating something on the computer, on the web, or whatever, or if it's an actual material thing in our household, etc. Then we have microchips used for cell phones, and they're used for monitoring, tracking, of course, if you think of like how we've microchipped our pets, medical reasons. And so, yeah, it's becoming a really big deal. I just had a conversation with someone recently who talked about Neuralink, and what a big deal that is for medical reasons, right? So, again, so technology is being highly regarded, and it's something that we're being forced to reckon with. Like, this is the normal now these days, right? Is the idea of all these things being put into play, and it's just a new way of life, something that we've got to get used to. And so, or keep in mind, there's also this idea of AI taking over, like dangerous robots, like somehow AI might just take over. So again, I have seen a lot of videos, a lot of information out there, with just these kinds of ideas with AI. And so really, I think it's having us be forced to just recognize this is the new future now. And yeah, it is quite interesting. I might have somewhat of a different and introspective and complex explanation. Basically, AI is this false idea, this false fear that's being put out there. I don't know about you, but I don't really believe that, AI is going to turn on us and become super dangerous. It's quite difficult to imagine that, unless like they're programmed in order to do that, to like fight against us civilians or something like that. So, and that might be part of the danger. Well, it is, of how some people are talking about AI. And of course, the other danger is employment loss. And, I think that there are plenty of jobs out there. And I think that it's being overly hyped in the way of like, well, AI is going to do all of our jobs or most of our jobs, etc. Well, I don't think there should be a whole lot of fear about AI. I really don't. I think there's this false idea of fearing AI. You know why? Because in a sneaky kind of way, it's actually going to truly be seen as a solution for humanity, basically. So we're used to this tracking and monitoring with the cell phones, and we've heard of the government doing this. So I'm not sure if you believe it or not. I do. I believe it. From a Christian perspective too, I know that there are people who are going to be weeded out before the coming of the greatest, if you will, invention of all with technology, and that is the microchips being implanted in people so that they can buy and sell with it. And there is prophecies, of course, in the book of Revelation. Eventually there's going to be a one world government leader, and his name is, I'm just kidding, I'm not going to say, because I can't say, I don't know who it is. But what I'm looking forward to mainly, by the way, as a Christian, is Jesus is coming, and protecting myself as much as I can during these interesting times we're living in and in the future. But I'm really looking forward to how God is going to work things out. He's God. There is no man who is going to take the place of God or try to overpower God. It's just not going to happen, folks. As much as the enemy, there is a real enemy called the devil or Satan or Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. And, well, you might call me crazy, but this is all in the Bible, okay? And so I just believe what the Bible says, and that could be a whole nother topic later. If we would want to talk about the spiritual realm, that's a huge topic. But anyhow, there is going to be a one world government leader. He's going to be also referred to as the Antichrist in the Bible. And people will be forced under his leadership, forced to really serve him and esteem him, and place him in such high regard. And man, by the way, if you are thinking about Christianity, have wondered about it, right now's the best time, I would say, to become a Christian. There is no better time. There really isn't. God isn't really wanting to use anybody. He wants the best for everybody. He created us, and he loves us. But he also gave man free will, and there's a lot of sin in the world. Sin meaning disobedience from God. And what man is doing right now is we're building up an empire, and technology is the main tool used in order to build that empire, or that tower of Babylon, so to speak. I have mentioned that previously in one of my videos called Musk and Obligations Without God. So that is a story in the Old Testament. And it's going to happen again. And this time it's going to be a pretty big deal, folks. And so I really do, my hope by sharing this is that many more people would maybe turn to the Bible and maybe recognize, hey, there is stuff going on, and I wonder if there's a correlation here. Well, I can see some correlations here. I just really wanted to do this video on technology from a Christian perspective, modern technology. And I thank you folks for watching. And I'm also wondering if there's anything that I'm missing, if you would want anything else covered here. I may or may not be able to cover it, but I could probably look into it. Well, thanks so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Blessings to you. Bye-bye.